Taxi Drivers Association, and Christian May, editor of City AM. First of all, on the point of taxi drivers, this is just protectionism, isn't it? It's the last kind of closed shop. Everybody else gets to have a variety of areas where they can go as consumers.
We've got absolutely no problem with competition at all. Let's get away from this myth that somehow Uber's some sort of revolutionary technology. It's just another minicab firm. We've had them since the 1960s. It's no big deal. In London, it's another minicab firm. So
therefore, why do you support Transport for London in trying to shut down part of its operation by imposing on it certain regulations?
Transport for London are in no way trying to close down Uber or limit their operation. This consultation has come about as a result of pressure from the public, from local councils onto the Mayor and TfL, as a result of what's going on, the complaints that they're receiving from the public. Nothing to do with us.
Thousands and thousands of people have gone with petitions to oppose it.
No, what's happened is Uber have emailed all their customers with a very, very misleading email saying that if you don't email TfL, they're going to scrap Uber. Oh. No, they're not. Now, absolute rubbish.
Look, City AM has had a massive campaign in favour of Uber. So, do you think the service that Uber operates as good as black cab service?
I think the service that Uber offers is one that people are free to choose, and you can choose from a budget Uber, if you like, that will zip you around from A to B, or you can choose a much nicer car. It's going to cost you a little bit more. The regulations that are being proposed, and it is just a consultation, but the regulations that are being proposed would represent a dramatic step backwards for Londoners and for consumers and for our economy if they're implemented. And Steve says that these proposals are nothing to do with him. But in your comment piece in the Taxi Industry newspaper in August, you boasted that every single one of the proposals was put forward by, for the first time, a coordinated response by your union, and that you'll do the same again in the second consultation, which is what these proposals form a part of. So it is simply proposals which are designed to protect an incumbent industry.
I wonder what you think of the role of Transport for London in this.
I think it's very strange because they're not compelled to accept every single one of the proposals that Mr McNamara's lobby put forward in the previous consultation. I mean, in your own words, you did this and you hailed it as a triumph. I think what TfL has done is take far too much of what the taxi lobby have proposed to protect their incumbents.
Can I just say the one thing, I mean, it's about choice for the customer and so forth. The one thing Uber can't do, you cannot hail an Uber. You have a distinct advantage there. Black cabs can be hailed in the street.
This has got nothing to do with competition. What's happening here is Uber, a $40 billion company that doesn't pay a penny tax in the UK, domiciles itself abroad, encourages its drivers not to pay tax in this country by allowing them to pay their money into foreign bank accounts. Let's talk about what's in this consultation. TfL want Uber to have their vehicles insured.
They are insured. I mean, of course they are. You can't drive around in an uninsured car.
Uber have just been fined £10,000 for aiding and abetting no insurance. The week before last, the Guardian journalist uploaded a fake insurance certificate accepted on the Uber platform.
You might find a driver who doesn't have his insurance in order. You might find a cab who prefers cash in hand. Of course there are going to be irregularities.
Hang on.
Irregularities? They've domiciled themselves in Holland. They don't pay a penny tax.
We're talking about the drivers and we're talking about the consumers.
Let's talk about the consumers at the moment. Because one thing that Uber doesn't do is do the same CRB checks that black cabs do. Do you think that Uber needs to up its game?
Well, I don't know about that, actually. From my understanding, they are subject to exactly the same background checks as carried out by TfL. Entirely the same, but I think you have to check with Uber on that, of course, but I'd be very surprised if they were somehow allowed to bypass that. And the idea that these proposals are about safety is extraordinary, because an Uber is incredibly safe. You get your picture and phone number of the driver, you're tracked on GPS. The only thing that would damage safety of an Uber rider is if they were forced to wait an arbitrary 5 minutes in the dark before it turned up.
Yeah. Why would there have to be this idea that you have to have 5 minutes waiting time before you get anywhere? That is just completely bonkers and completely disadvantages the consumer, doesn't it?
TfL are worried about people getting in the wrong cars, but that's only one of the issues that's being put up. Let's talk about some of the other issues. Transport for London are very worried about Uber's pricing. They want them to fix price their fares. In other words, before you get in, they want to fix price.
You can't fix price some...
And the reason they want to do that is control Uber's surge pricing, where they regularly charge their customers
Are these not completely spurious reasons? What sentient human being is going to get in the wrong car? You know your Uber. Do you know when your Uber comes? It comes with a licence plate.
Having been involved in the taxi industry for 30 years, I can tell you people do all sorts of strange things.
And they do all sorts of things with
time.
black taxi drivers as well.
We know we're picking up. The difference is somebody puts...
You don't know you're picking up.
Of course I do. You put your hand up in the street, I stop for you. It's very easy.
Which is an advantage that your industry enjoys. It's a very protected industry. You can use the bus lanes. You have the sole right to take a fare who's got his hand in the air.
And the
I mean, this is
for...
quite a protected industry, and it is under threat. I do have sympathy for the sector.
We don't need your sympathy, thank you. The
no,
reason that we have
all
those
that's
rights
Steve,
is because
the old way of doing things is coming up against a new way of doing
Nothing
things.
to do
and there's
with...
tension. Of course there is.
Is it not always going to be the way that the ones who have, as it were, the monopoly in the past are going to be the ones that are going to resist?
Kirsty,
there was never going to be a moment that you were going to welcome Uber, was there?
No, and Uber's just another minicab firm. This business that we've got on Monopoly, Transport for London set our fares. They tell us what vehicles to drive.
I agree, you're over-regulated.
Over-regulated.
You're massively over-regulated.
So let's have a race to the bottom, shall we, where we all drive uninsured vehicles, we charge what we want.
That's
that's what you're proposing.
No, of course it's not. What I'm proposing is that your solution to saying they're not on a level playing field is to force a whole bunch of ridiculous regulations on the Challenger, so that you're all wading through the same amount of mud. Why don't we deregulate from the top down?
Vehicles being insured, set fares, regulated drivers. That's
just one very final point. If
right.
you say that you're not averse to other minicabs, you know that if anything happens to Uber, someone else will just pop up.
We've been competing with a minicab since the 1960s. The interesting thing here, Kirsty, is that every minicab firm in London, bar Uber, thinks these rules and regulations are good for public safety. Why is it this $40 billion company doesn't pay a penny tax in the UK, £250,000 a month on lobbying, loads of Christians' front pages, rather strangely, who's getting what?
Don't be so ridiculous. 2 front pages after TfL's proposals were leaked to us on Monday night.
Thank you both very much indeed.